Hello and welcome back to Plastic Models by Regular Dude. Today I am getting ready to start a new project. I've mentioned before some of my update videos, and I'm finally ready to get cracking because I'm waiting for paint on some other stuff. So now is as good a time as any to start. And as you can see, the kit is Revell's relatively new tool, 2015 Focke-Wulf FW190 F8 in 1/32 scale, kit number 04869. This is, as I say, it's a newer release. There's plenty of reviews on either on websites or on YouTube discussing the merits and drawbacks of the kit. Seems to be one of those things where, you know, people just either really don't like it because it's a Revell kit, or they really like it because it's a Revell of Germany kit that's a little bit, well, quite a bit nicer than the Chinese imports from Revell, and it's a really good value for the money. One person that built this a couple of years ago, right after it came out, is his name is Martin. His YouTube channel is called International British Modeler, and if I remember, I'll put a link below in my description. But he built this kit and he really enjoyed it, and I discussed with him very briefly, but the thing that he mentioned that he liked the most about it, he's built it straight from the box, and he really thinks it's an excellent value for the money. For the amount of money that you pay for one of these, you know, you really get your money's worth. So anyway, I actually got this kit from my son. He was planning on building it but changed his mind, so I inherited it from him, and I am going to be building it, and I'm not gonna it's not gonna be for any of my, you know, beginners videos or anything like that. This is just purely for my own satisfaction and joy, and I have a specific plan for it, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'll kind of look at what's in the box a little bit, not do a real detailed review, but kind of look at it and talk a little bit about what my plan is for this kit. And as a side note, just with a real quick look online, this kit can be had for about 32 bucks, anywhere from $28 to $32 online. So for what you get, it really is a good value for the money, and it can be made into a really decent looking aircraft. So anyway, that's enough blabbing about the intro part here. First off, one thing that some people complain about, some people are indifferent to, is the end opening boxes, and those can be, you know, it can be kind of a hassle, because I like to leave all my stuff in the box and take it out as I need it, and it's just a real pain when you have an end opening box. So what I've done, and other people have done this too, this isn't an original idea, I've taped up the ends and basically cut the top to make a flap so I can open it easily. Okay, so I'm going to move it off the bench here, and so we can start taking a look at it. So the first thing, obviously, is the instructions. You know, it's typical Revell instructions. I'm not going to go through detail. They do have it grayed out the parts that you will not be using for this particular aircraft. And there's been some talk that maybe the reason they've done that is they're going to have different parts and maybe add or subtract sprues or change some stuff to make it, I think, an A8 version. I'm not sure, but there's talk about that, and you know, who knows, we'll see. It's been a couple of years since they released this, so they may not. Now, one thing that seems to be pretty unanimous, though, and I just want to think of it as looking at it here, is the engine is really, really nice for a kit of this price range. People have built up that engine, and it looks really, really good without having to add a lot of extras to it. That's just kind of a side note. Color call outs here. And you have a couple of different options. You can do it with 2 drop tanks and a bomb in the middle, or you can do a bomb in the middle and then 4 smaller bombs on the outside edges. It also comes with, right here you can see this is a display base, and here it is here, and it shows you that if you're going to use a display base, you need to cut out a couple of holes. That way you could either do, you know, a gear down, you know, coming in for a landing type of thing, or gear up in flight type situation on the display base. And that's kind of a cool addition. You don't see that very often. But anyway, you've got all the instructions here: cockpit, wheels, fuselage, painting as you go, etc., etc. I'm not going to go over in detail, there's no need. Now, one benefit of this kit over the BF109 that came out a few years prior to this, that's also a very nice kit, is the landing gear. The landing gear seemed to be a little more substantial, not as wobbly. That was one of the complaints about the 109. So then you get into the extra stuff here. You know, you've got a flat canopy, you've got a bubble canopy. You know, you just have to check your which version you're wanting to do. Now, in the kit, it looks like it comes with markings for 2 different aircraft, Black 6 and Black 2. Both of them kind of neat. The one on the front of the box art is Black 6 with the number 70 on the front. Has the yellow band, some of the yellow markings and stuff, and both pretty neat. However, I'm not using either one of those, and I'll get to that in a minute. So that is the instructions. So let me start getting some of the plastic and some of the decals out, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, I'm going to break from the norm. Most people go through the plastic and then the decals, but I'm going to talk about the decals first. This is the decal set. Again, you can do two different aircraft. All of the print and everything on all these small stencils really clear, and you know, looks really good. Nice clean printing on it. Everything is perfectly in register as far as like this shark's mouth that goes on the bomb, the eyes, everything really good. And these are printed in Italy, so I'm going to assume they're probably maybe cartograph, and if so, those are really good decals. They seem to be pretty thin as far as decals go. All of the carrier film is really close to the edge of the actual decal itself, which, you know, really helps whenever you're weathering, painting aircraft. You don't have as much worry about, you know, weathering, highlighting carrier film that's a little out from the edge. Now, another interesting thing here is they include seat belts in the form of decals. I guess those would work pretty good, especially, you know, once you get these things built and put in there, there's not a whole lot of, you know, sometimes the detail can be lost, but the seat is kind of prominent, and I'm not sure how that'd look, but you know, at least they give you something, and it's not just molded onto the seat that you have to paint. So, you know, maybe not too bad. And I guess if one wanted to, a person could even you know, maybe apply that to some lightweight cardstock or something, and be real careful cutting it out and get a more substantial feel to it than just a decal thickness. But anyway, that's the decals. Really nice looking, but, you know, again, I won't be using these kit decals because I have a different plan of attack. As far as, let's take a look. I'm going to go ahead and show you here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bags of plastic here. So there is a lot of plastic going on. So I'm going to take a quick look at it. I'm not going to do one of these detailed part by part things, but I am going to open these up and take a look at each of the sprue. Well, maybe not each of them, but take a look at representation of the sprues so we can see what's going on in there. Okay. Real quick before I get going, I just wanted to kind of follow up. I did an earlier video lamenting the inbox review. I just wanted to add some clarification to that. You know, I may have come off sounding that, you know, inbox reviews are worthless. They're not worthless, they're good for certain things. For looking at the quality of molding, looking for flash, stuff like that, inbox reviews are great. You get an idea of what's in the box. But as an overall review of a model kit, I really believe one cannot just go off of an inbox review. The parts may look beautiful in the box, but then you might run into fit issues later when it's actually built. So an inbox review has its merits for seeing what's in the box, checking the decals, checking the quality of the plastic, the molding, detail, etc. But it's really only, as far as I'm concerned, for the model itself, it's only like the first step in actually getting a good review of a model kit. An inbox review followed up by a build of the kit, that is perfect and the way to go. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit because there was a little bit of question as to, you know, maybe I was a little out of bounds with that. So anyway, enough of that, because I'm going to do an inbox kind of review right now, just a very brief one. So here's one of the first sprues, and the nice thing is these are all packed very well in the bags. One thing I will note now, having built having attempted to build the FW190 G10, notice I say attempted, this plastic seems a little bit nicer than the plastic in the other one. Maybe it's just the color, but there's something about it that just looks a little better. And you know, this one was done 2 years after the other one, so maybe it is better. But anyway, first sprue, these are bombs, drop tanks, they all look good, swell, splendid. Let's look at this big one here so I can get it out of the way. This is the one with the engine. Now, this is what I'm talking about with the detail on this engine. The cylinder detail is really, really nice. Very defined. Cooling fins on these cylinders and heads. Just looks really, really good. Now, one thing I'm noticing here that looks like kind of lame, but would be easily fixed, is there's some pretty gnarly sinkholes right here. I don't know if this is the way it is on all these kits, but that's some pretty good sinkholes right there. But those should be able to be fixed pretty easily. The instrument panel looks good. Really nice defined bezels on the front. Switches and stuff, very nicely defined. Let's see. So just, you know, this whole engine thing looks good. This part right here, I'm not sure what it's called, but that's really nice looking. The propeller looks good. Now here's something that's kind of nice, okay? One of my pet peeves. Inside of this part right here, the landing gear base, there's a little tiny bit of flash around the edges right there, easily cleaned up, but more importantly, there are no ejector pin marks anywhere on the inside of those gear bays. So that's really nice. Now right back here in the propeller, I read about this in another review, a little bit of sink mark action going on. So those will have to be filled and shaped. So that's, you know, that can happen. Control stick looks good. So nice looking sprue there. This one right here, by the way, comes packaged in a bag with this, and there are 2 bags like that. Now it looks like you get 2 tire options, one with tread, one without. There's no weighted side on it, so if you want weighted tires, like, you know, you got some weight sitting on the tires, you're gonna have to sand those down. But, you know, again, the wheel hubs look really nice, nicely detailed. Good looking stuff. All right, so let's get to the wings here. Wings look good. Right here, if you look at it a certain way, it looks like it's like divoted right there. It's not, it's just kind of a discoloration in the plastic. This item right here, this bulge, that looks pretty good. It's got some nice hinge detail along both edges, so that's kind of cool. So all that looks really good. Nothing, you know, untoward with that sprue there. Here is the base. You get and another bulge here, so you sure don't want to just discard that. And then here's the wing support. Gun cover with a little bit of flash there. But this is the base, big base with a pedestal, and then the part that actually mounts to the plane, which is kind of cool. It's kind of at a little bit of an angle, so, you know, give you kind of an action pose thing going on. Be nice to sit on your desk at work or something. The main bomb. Okay, here is another example. The landing gear doors. Now, this one here looks like the one, let's see. There's 2 different types. I'm not sure what the difference is. One of them has an extra fitting there. I'm thinking this one might be if you have the gear bay closed. This one not. This has ejector pin marks on it, but if it's up inside, it doesn't matter. There are ejector pin marks on this one. Right here, and there, and there. So it will be interesting to see if that is covered by the landing gear strut itself. If it is, then they place them in a place where it's not really going to matter that much. I mean, you can still clean them up, fill them and clean them, but if they're behind the landing gear strut, then that wouldn't be that big of a deal. Speaking of the struts, those look nice. Tail wheel assembly, nicely detailed, in all one part, which is kind of nice. They can be kind of fiddly. This one looks like if you have it retracted, you'd only see part of it because it's all solid in here. Here's the 1/2 of the wheel here that would go on this one, I believe. So that looks good. So yeah, that all looks pretty nice. So there's the other half of the wheel there. So it looks good. The wing, the main wing assembly here, or lower wing piece with those look like this for the rear. I'm not sure, but that all looks really nice. Now I've heard some people complain about the rivet detail. It looks pretty pronounced to me, so I'm not sure, you know, maybe it's somewhere else, maybe it's on the fuselage, but it looks pretty good. All of the access panels clearly defined, so it'll make for some really nice weathering. And then the fuselage half looks pretty good. The panel lines aren't too deep. Nice hinge detail there for this access panel for the rudder. I think those are release levers or what those are for opening this access panel. Then we have different options for the gun cowlings, it looks like. The exhaust, where the exhaust exits the aircraft, that looks pretty good. It's going to need a little bit of cleanup because there's a little tiny bit of flash inside of there. Don't know if you can see it or not. Very little bit, but it should be just a quick swipe with the old handy dandy X-Acto knife. That's pretty cool. Revell, 2015 by Revell GmbH. Nice stuff. And then the gun cover here and the other fuselage. So I don't know, the rivet detail looks pretty decent to me. Nice hinge detail here for this, I can't remember what it's called, this fairing. So it looks good. So, yep, all looks good. Now, these engine panels can be posed open, and here's something that's kind of nice. No ejector pin marks on the inside. So that's pretty dandy. So that is a quick look. Well, almost forgot. Got the clear stuff. So we've got 4 different canopies. And then the front windshield, which is fitting to fall off. And then all the rest of the clear parts. Looks like the gun sight. Landing lights. So yeah, that all looks really good, and I'm going to, right now, before it falls off, I'm going to cut this baby off right here. There we go. So it all looks good, pretty clear, a little bit of distortion on the windscreen there, and on the sides. Not too bad though, shouldn't detract too much. The glass here, not bad. And then it's nice that back here it's slightly textured where it will be painted. So that all looks good. So that is a quick look at the parts. So with that, let me kind of clean this up and we'll take a look at the decals I'm going to use for this kit. All right, so I talked earlier about the value that these kits provide. The one thing I did want to spend a little extra money on, other than the decal set, was this right here. And I mentioned it in one of my other videos. But it's the basic line micro textile seat belts and die cut mask for the glass. I wanted to use these just to help mask it, make it a little bit easier, and I wanted to try these seat belts. I've used photo etch seat belts, I've used decal seat belts, and paint on seat belts. So now I figured I'd try these micro textile. The description says pre-cut micro textile seat belts, fine print, real textile, natural texture, soft material, easy to thread the belts through the buckles. And it's already in the appropriate color, and it's got you know, like, I don't know, serial numbers or whatever marked on there, and they're really nice looking. And they come with you know, this little leather piece here. You probably can't see it in the camera, but once I take it out, I'll give you a better look. But it's got, you know, looks like cotton stitching or something. It looks really good. And then all of these photo etch parts, looks like it's made by Edward. Very, very, you know what, we gotta look at this. So let me cut this thing open and I'll let you take a look at what I'm talking about. This looks like a really nice set, and as you can see, with the price right on it, 16 bucks. And yeah, it's worth it to me, especially for the those nice seat belts and for the handy dandy masking set. There they are in place, and it comes with some cool little instructions, tells you which way to do it. And what is really cool, especially for the sticklers in the world. It's got interior mask and exterior mask, so you can paint the inside of the canopy frames as well as the outside. So that is really slick. So let me zoom in on this. And hopefully I'm going to turn it like this, get as much in the frame as possible. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. It's got the little serial numbers. Hopefully you can see the simulated texture and print. It's got a nice feel to it. It's pretty thick. It's not thin like paper, but it's not as thick as some kind of cardstock or something. Looks really good. And right here, don't know if you can actually see that. Yeah, you should be able to see it. You know, this is supposed to be a leather piece here, and it's got really nice stitching, so it looks really nice. And then the photo etch parts themselves, those are like ultra fine. Look, compared to a number 11 blade, that is some really small stuff. So that's going to take some real care to get that off the fret. But it looks really nice, and these thread through the buckles just like the real deal. So kind of eager to try those out. It's going to be kind of tricky, and I'm going to have to be careful with my big old meat hooks hanging off the end of my arms, but it should turn out really nice. So after all that, the final thing I want to talk about is the decal set that I have decided to use for this project, and that is the Eagle Cals number EC 166. And the aircraft, I'm going to take it out of the bag so there's no glare. Okay, so here we go. All right, so the Eagle Cals 166, 1/32 scale. Supposed to be good stuff, and I am going to find out. Comes with markings for a number of different aircraft, 4 to be exact, and you got this nice fold out deal here. Oops, sorry guys, sensitive switch here. You've got white 2, you've got black 11, yellow 13, and black 3. Okay, so the one I'm going to do is black 3. And here is the reason. Now, I'm always talking about I like unique things and I like things with a backstory. So there's a couple of things going on with this particular aircraft. Number one, it is all bare metal finish with the RLM color sprayed on top, and then on the top of the wings. The rudder and the rear elevators are red oxide primer on those cloth portions. And it looks like there's a very faint modeling on the rudder, the tail, and then a little bit on the sides. It's a lot of really nice weathering going on it. Okay, and something else that I've noticed is the metallic color in the front. Now, I don't know if this is just printing or if they somehow know this is the way it was. It's a slightly different shade of metal than the rest of the aircraft. Underneath, there is some debate as to whether or not the underneath of the wings were painted in the RLM 76, the light kind of bluish gray. This illustration shows bare metal, and that's what I'm going to do. There's no definitive answer. So the reason that I like this aircraft, and the cool thing, the cool backstory behind it, Black 3 was pilot by the name of Eugen Lorker. I'll just read what it says here. He belly landed this aircraft at Aufhausen to escape the Russians. On board was his fiancée riding in the rear fuselage. Every year on this anniversary, 8th May 1945, he and his wife returned to this site, celebrating their escape with a toast of champagne. And then it gives where an article can be read about this. Gives the colors: fuselage undersurfaces metal, natural metal, RLM 75 gray violet light modeling on rear fuselage and fin, motor and gun cowl, RLM 75 gray violet with RLM 74 gray green, rudder and elevator left in red oxide primer, upper wing and stabilizer RLM 75 gray violet and RLM 74 gray green, spinner black with white spiral, prop blades black green RLM 70. So that's basically it, and that is looks like the canopy was dark natural metal. And interestingly enough, this canopy is in a private German collection taken from the crash site immediately after the war. So that's pretty definite on the color there. So anyway, that is that's the deal. That's why I'm going with that one. Is this Eugen Lorker and his fiance. Apparently he landed near where she was and rounded her up and stuffed her through the radio access door on the fuselage, packed her in there, and off they went, flew to freedom, so they wouldn't have to deal with the Russians. And then apparently, as it says, they went back every year to that location and toasted their anniversary with champagne. So just kind of a really cool story. I like that kind of stuff. And I have seen pictures of people doing restorations on FW190s, and a girl had gotten into that compartment to work on the radio equipment on this particular aircraft. So it is very, very true that a person can fit in the back of the fuselage. So anyway, that's the one I'm going to do. Black 3. So that pretty much concludes this review video, and I'm going to end this, and I'm going to actually get started building this aircraft. So I will come back at a later point on another video and talk a little bit about the kit and what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. It's not going to be a blow-by-blow. It's going to be a build, and talk a little bit as I go, and if I find stuff that needs to be discussed, I'll discuss it, just to in case anybody else wants to build this aircraft and wants to know the ins and outs of assembling and or painting it. So that's it for plastic models by Regular Dude in the FW190 F8 project. So as always, leave questions, comments below, suggestions, anything else I will answer as quickly as possible, and I will see you all later.